The air smelled of antiseptic and fear as Alex pushed open the hospital room door, his chest tightening with each step. His eyes darted to the bed, where his Edward lay pale and fragile, machines humming in slow defiance of death. The monitor beeped steadily, yet each sound felt like a countdown to the inevitable. His Edward's sunken cheeks and trembling hands made Alex's breath hitch, a wave of grief clawing at his throat. The silence in the room was louder than thunder, pressing against his ears. Alex whispered, "Dad, I'm here." His Edward's gaze shifted slowly, watery eyes landing on his son with the faintest flicker of recognition. The weight of unspoken words hung between them, heavy as a storm about to break. Alex felt his knees weaken as he reached the bedside, clutching his Edward's frail fingers. His Edward whispered, "I don't have much time." The sentence tore through Alex like a blade. He swallowed hard, forcing back tears, because breaking now would shatter everything. The sterile walls seemed to close in, trapping him in this final confrontation, where love, regret, and mortality collided in unbearable silence. Alex sat down beside the bed, his body heavy with the weight of years unspoken. The air smelled of disinfectant, sharp and suffocating. His chest ached as silence pressed harder than any words. His Edward's breathing faltered, uneven and shallow, each inhale scraping Alex's nerves raw. He whispered, "I thought I had more time." His voice cracked, carrying both apology and confession. The words hovered, fragile, unwilling to settle. His Edward blinked slowly, a single tear escaping the corner of his eye. Alex gripped the sheets tighter, as though clinging could halt time's cruelty. The machines hummed with indifference, their steady rhythm mocking his chaos. He remembered laughter once filling their home, the sound of strength in his Edward's voice. Now it was replaced by fragile gasps, by silence where wisdom once lived. He wanted to ask forgiveness, to unload the storm inside, yet fear held him hostage. Every second felt stolen, fragile, slipping. The clock on the wall ticked faintly, mocking Alex with each passing second. He turned his eyes toward his Edward, studying the fragile face that once commanded strength. "You always told me not to waste time," Alex whispered, his voice trembling. His Edward's lips curled faintly, the ghost of a smile crossing a tired face. Alex's heart twisted at the sight, a memory colliding with reality. He remembered being a child, hearing that same smile and laughter during summer evenings. Now it was brittle, cracked, fighting against the weight of mortality. "I should have listened better," Alex said, lowering his head. The silence stretched, heavy as stone. His Edward's chest rose and fell in uneven rhythm, each breath a reminder of slipping hours. Alex wanted to freeze the moment, to preserve even the agony, because it meant his Edward was still here. Alex leaned closer, voice breaking with urgency. "There are so many things I never said." His words cracked like glass, spilling raw regret. His Edward shifted faintly, eyes glistening under the sterile glow. Memory stormed Alex's mind, arguments that ended in silence, words buried under pride. His chest tightened with guilt, fear that the truth would never find its way out. "I should have told you how much I admired you," he whispered. His Edward's breathing stuttered, his frail body trembling as if struggling to respond. The moment was cruel, fragile, yet sacred, each heartbeat louder than the machines. Alex felt his soul unravel, stripped of defenses, left with nothing but desperate love. The weight of silence grew unbearable, pressing into Alex's ribs until he could barely breathe. "I don't want you to go," he whispered, his voice trembling with childlike fear. His Edward's gaze softened, carrying both sorrow and unspoken forgiveness. The machines beeped steadily, indifferent to the storm between them. Alex pressed his forehead against the edge of the bed, clutching his Edward's frail hand as if it anchored him to life itself. Memories of childhood flooded back, his Edward teaching him to ride a bike, cheering from the sidelines, scolding him with tough love. The fragments burned now, sharper because they were fading. "I thought we had more time," Alex whispered again, his words dissolving into the sterile air. His Edward's hand squeezed faintly, fragile yet fierce, a final reminder of love stronger than words. The chair creaked under Alex as he leaned forward, studying the fragile rise and fall of his Edward's chest. "I never realized how much of my strength came from you," he whispered. His voice quivered, weighed down by years of unspoken gratitude. He remembered the nights when his Edward stayed late, fixing his broken toys, mornings when his stern voice pushed him toward discipline. Beneath that strictness had always been a hidden tenderness, one Alex had been too young to see. Now the truth felt cruel, revealed at the edge of goodbye. His Edward blinked, faint recognition flickering. Alex swallowed hard, adding, "I thought I had more time to tell you." The words scraped his throat raw. His Edward's trembling lips parted, but silence pressed between them, broken only by the beeping of monitors. Alex tightened his grip on his Edward's hand, clinging to it like an anchor in the storm of despair. He prayed, his presence spoke what words could not. Alex's throat burned with words he never thought he'd say aloud. "You were hard on me, but you shaped me into who I am." His eyes brimmed with tears, yet his lips curved faintly with gratitude. He recalled the nights he resented his Edward's sternness, the lectures that once felt endless. Now those same moments revealed themselves as gifts disguised as burdens. His Edward's chest rose faintly, his eyes narrowing as though listening through the fog of pain. Alex whispered, "I fought you too often when I should have listened." The confession fell like glass shattering, sharp but cleansing. The silence that followed felt less cruel this time, as though acknowledgement had carved a fragile bridge between them. Alex's shoulders slumped, but his heart steadied, anchored by the truth at last spoken. He leaned closer, resting his forehead against his Edward's hand, soaking in the warmth still left. The sound of the monitor echoed like a slow drum beat, steady yet cruel. Alex whispered, "I wanted to make you proud, even when I pretended not to care." His voice cracked with honesty, his defenses stripped bare. Memories of missed opportunities rushed back, moments when pride had chained his tongue, when silence had stood where love should have been. His Edward's eyelids fluttered, tears welling at the corners. Alex's chest heaved, each breath a battle between strength and surrender. "I hope you knew, deep down," he continued, his words quivering but unyielding. The weight of decades condensed into fragile seconds, pressing Alex into raw vulnerability. He clasped his Edward's hand tighter, as though that connection might transmit the truth across the years of distance. His Edward's faint squeeze answered, silent yet powerful, and Alex broke, tears falling freely for the first time. Alex's voice grew steadier, though pain still clung to its edges. "Do you remember teaching me how to ride a bike?" He forced a faint smile, recalling scraped knees and trembling balance. His Edward's lips twitched, a fleeting spark of memory igniting across his weary face. "You ran beside me, even when I shouted I could do it alone," Alex said, laughter breaking through tears. The memory clashed against the sterile room, but for a moment warmth returned. His Edward's chest rose in uneven rhythm, his eyes moist, caught between exhaustion and nostalgia. Alex leaned closer, whispering, "You never stopped holding me up, even when I didn't see it." His voice faltered, breaking beneath the weight of realization. The hum of machines felt distant now, replaced by echoes of childhood laughter, lingering in the silence. Alex's voice dropped to a whisper, as though speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile thread keeping his Edward here. "I'm sorry for every silence, every harsh word," he admitted, eyes fixed on the pale hand in his grasp. The confession burned, yet with it came a fragile release, like unburdening a soul weighed for years. His Edward blinked, eyes glistening, a tear sliding down his wrinkled cheek. Alex felt his own chest cave, guilt and love colliding in a storm too heavy to hold. He pressed his lips against the back of his Edward's hand, trembling as though this single act could rewrite years of regret. "I love you," he whispered finally, the words escaping like a prayer, fragile but fierce. His Edward's faint squeeze was enough, a silent absolution that pierced Alex's heart with both pain and peace. The sterile hum of machines echoed like a countdown Alex could not escape. He tightened his grip on his Edward's hand, his voice trembling. Why did we waste so much time fighting? The words sliced the silence, sharp with regret. Edward's eyes shifted weakly, sorrow flickering in their depth. Alex's chest constricted as memories of slammed doors and bitter arguments surfaced like ghosts. He wanted to claw back the years where pride had silenced love. The tension between them had been a wall, one he now wished to tear down, but it was too late for rebuilding. I was stubborn, Alex admitted, his voice cracking. Edward's lips trembled, a faint exhale escaping. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't rejection either. The room pressed in, suffocating, every second reminding him this was not endless. Alex's heart pounded, demanding answers that time refused to give. Alex leaned forward, desperation leaking into every word. Why didn't we talk more? Why didn't you tell me what you were feeling? His voice trembled like a child begging for answers. Edward's face shifted slightly, weary eyes brimming with unspoken truths. The silence stretched, unbearable, as if the walls themselves held back the answers. Alex's stomach twisted with the weight of years wasted, of conversations avoided. He whispered again, "Were you disappointed in me?" The question shattered the air, fragile but piercing. Edward blinked slowly, his lips twitching but failing to form words. Alex felt his heart lurch violently, craving clarity, but receiving only silence. The hum of machines became mocking, a cruel reminder of mortality's grip. His throat tightened, tears burning hot, as he realized some truths may never surface. Memories flooded Alex's mind, every harsh exchange, every bitter silence. His voice grew raw. "You taught me to be strong, but I never showed you how much I needed you." He wiped a trembling hand across his face, the confession tearing him open. Edward's chest rose in uneven rhythm, breath catching like a broken metronome. Alex felt a surge of panic, terrified of losing him before the words could heal. He pressed his palm over Edward's fragile hand, anchoring himself in that touch. "I should have told you more often that I love you," Alex whispered, voice breaking. The words, long buried, now clawed their way free in desperation. Edward's watery gaze met his, weak but unwavering, and for a moment, the silence between them carried more than words ever could. The walls of the hospital seemed to lean closer, suffocating Alex in their sterile embrace. "I never wanted you to think I was ungrateful," he whispered, his voice trembling like glass about to shatter. Edward's brow furrowed faintly, an almost imperceptible gesture, but enough to strike Alex deeply. He remembered moments when he had rolled his eyes, walked away mid-conversation, acted as if Edward's words had no meaning. The guilt surged, heavy as iron, pressing him down. "I thought we had forever," Alex admitted, words shaking. Edward's fingers twitched weakly beneath his grasp, a fragile reminder that time was a thief with no mercy. Alex's heart splintered under the weight of inevitability, desperate to stretch the moment, to make it endless. But the beeping monitor mocked him, steady and cold. Alex pressed his forehead against Edward's hand, voice raw and breaking. "I wanted to be better for you, but I failed so many times." The confession clawed at his chest, tearing open wounds long hidden. Edward's labored breath filled the silence, fragile yet unyielding, like a candle refusing to extinguish. Alex's tears spilled freely, soaking the sheets, guilt carving deep lines into his soul. "I wanted to make you proud, even when I was lost," he continued, his words desperate. Edward's watery gaze lingered, a faint glimmer of recognition sparking in the exhaustion. Alex's heart broke under the weight of that gaze, both comforted and devastated. The truth was cruel. There would never be enough words, never enough time. He clung tighter, as if holding could keep Edward here longer. Alex's chest rose with sharp breaths, his mind swarming with memories that felt more like accusations than comfort. "I wasted so much time being angry at you," he whispered, the words bleeding into the sterile air. His voice trembled, carrying the weight of countless battles fought with silence. He remembered walking out of rooms, refusing to answer calls, convincing himself there would always be another chance. His Edward blinked weakly, the gesture both tender and devastating. Alex felt his stomach knot, the years of distance pressing like iron against his ribs. "I thought proving myself meant pushing you away," he admitted, his lips trembling. The truth seared him raw, but silence had become a heavier burden than honesty. His Edward's breath hitched, the sound fragile yet piercing, making Alex lean closer, desperate to catch every fragment of life slipping through. The room tightened around Alex, each second mocking his regrets. "I thought I had to carry everything alone," he said softly, voice trembling with exhaustion. "But I needed you more than I ever admitted." His Edward's chest rose shallowly, a faint shiver of life against the machine's cold rhythm. Alex closed his eyes, recalling nights of loneliness when he pretended strength but longed for his Edward's voice. Tears clung to his lashes, blurring the sterile walls. "I pushed you away when I should have held on," he confessed. The truth pierced deeper than any wound, the kind only time and silence could create. His Edward's weak hand twitched faintly in his grasp, a fragile signal that reached him stronger than words ever could. Alex's heart ached with both grief and desperate gratitude, knowing he still had this final moment. Alex pressed his forehead against the mattress edge, his voice shaking. "Why didn't I come sooner? Why did I let pride waste our time?" The confession burned as guilt surged like a flood. Memories collided, missed birthdays, calls unanswered, harsh words left to rot between them. His Edward's weak breathing was the only response, yet it felt like judgment heavy enough to crush. "I thought there'd always be tomorrow," Alex whispered. The irony clawed at his chest, for tomorrow had betrayed him. His Edward's watery eyes blinked slowly, fragile yet holding unspoken forgiveness. Alex gripped his hand tighter, as though clinging could rewrite history. His heart fractured with the realization that love had always been there, buried beneath pride, waiting for this final reckoning. The steady beeping filled the silence like a cruel reminder of time slipping away. Alex lifted his head, staring into his Edward's fading eyes. "I thought I was strong without you, but I was wrong," he whispered. His chest heaved with the weight of every mistake. He remembered refusing help, rejecting advice, pretending independence was victory. His Edward's lips twitched faintly, as though trying to speak. Alex leaned closer, desperate. "I wanted to be your equal, but I was just afraid you'd see me fail." The confession hit him like a collapse, tearing through the armor he had built for years. His Edward's shallow breath rattled, fragile but still holding him in its rhythm. Alex felt the truth pierce deeper than any reprimand could. He had sought approval all along. Alex's hands trembled as he clasped his Edward's fragile fingers between his own. "I don't know how to let you go," he whispered, voice quaking. The truth spilled like a wound, tearing open. His Edward's eyes glistened faintly, offering no words, only silence heavy with finality. Alex's breath stuttered, every inhale sharp, every exhale trembling. "You're the only constant I ever had," he admitted, tears carving down his cheeks. The machines hummed steadily, cruelly indifferent to the agony in the room. Alex bowed his head, pressing the back of his Edward's hand against his lips. He wanted to freeze the moment, to hold on forever, but the world was cruel in its forward march. His heart broke with the knowledge that goodbye was no longer distant, it was here. Alex sat frozen, his Edward's weak voice breaking the silence. "There are things I never told you." The words struck like lightning, pulling Alex upright. His pulse thundered in his ears, fear and anticipation colliding. His Edward's lips trembled, each syllable forced through frail breath. "I wasn't always the man you thought I was." Alex's throat closed, confusion burning like acid. "What do you mean?" he asked, panic twisting his voice. His Edward's gaze drifted, tears pooling. "Mistakes, secrets I never wanted you to bear." The revelation stabbed deeper than any silence before, unraveling years of certainty. Alex felt the floor tilt beneath him, his foundation cracking. "You should have told me," he whispered, voice shaking. His Edward coughed, breath rattling. I wanted to protect you, but I failed. The truth burned into Alex's chest, leaving him gasping in betrayal and grief. The words hung like a noose, tightening with every breath. Alex's voice cracked. What secrets? What could be so terrible you kept it from me? His Edward's eyes clouded, shame etched into every line of his weary face. I wasn't faithful to your mother, he whispered. The confession sliced through the air, tearing Alex's heart in half. His stomach twisted violently, the foundation of family crumbling in an instant. Alex's breath quickened, trembling rage and grief battling inside. How could you? His words cut sharp, filled with betrayal. His Edward's hand twitched faintly, eyes wet with regret. I was weak, he admitted, voice breaking. The silence after his words was louder than thunder, pressing Alex into despair. His chest heaved, torn between love for the man before him, and fury at the revelation that poisoned their final hours. Alex staggered back in his chair, chest burning with disbelief. The sterile room blurred as anger and heartbreak collided. You let me grow up thinking we were whole, he whispered fiercely, voice trembling with restrained fury. His Edward turned his gaze away, tears streaking down pale skin. I thought hiding it would keep the family together, he rasped. Alex's fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. You lied to me, he said, each word soaked in betrayal. His Edward's breath rattled, his body trembling under the weight of truth. I regret it every day, he admitted, voice breaking. Alex's vision swam with tears, love and hate warring within him. The man he had looked up to was now fractured, imperfect, painfully human. The revelation carved into his soul, leaving scars that would never fade. The silence roared louder than Alex's thoughts. His Edward turned his head slowly, voice a broken whisper. I loved you, even in my failures. The words twisted Alex's chest, cutting through the storm with fragile sincerity. His breath faltered, fury warring with love. He wanted to scream, to walk away, but his Edward's failing body tethered him. I don't know if I can forgive you, Alex admitted, voice splintering. The words dropped like stones, filling the room with their weight. His Edward closed his eyes, tears streaking down his sunken cheeks. You don't have to. Just know, I never stopped loving you. Alex's heart cracked again, guilt and rage entwining in unbearable knots. He pressed a shaking hand to his face, the reality settling like ash. Forgiveness may never come, and time offered no more chances. Alex leaned forward again, trembling, his voice raw. You broke us, he whispered, pain dripping with every word. His Edward's eyes fluttered open, a faint spark of sorrow shining through exhaustion. I know, he rasped. The admission cut deeper than the secret itself, sealing the wound with salt instead of balm. Alex pressed his palm against his chest, trying to hold himself together. I don't know how to carry this, he said, voice shaking. His Edward's frail hand twitched, brushing against Alex's wrist. Don't carry my sins, he whispered. Carry the love instead. The words pierced Alex's core, fragile but sincere. His chest caved under the weight of it all, torn between betrayal and the unshakable bond of blood. Tears poured freely, drowning the silence as he clung to his Edward's final plea for mercy. Alex's body trembled as he leaned forward, his Edward's confession still echoing through the room, like a ghost that refused to leave. His breath came sharp and ragged, his chest aching with a storm of betrayal and love, colliding in violent waves. You shattered the image I held of you, he whispered, his voice breaking. But you're still my Edward. His words bled pain, yet beneath them lay a fragile tether, a bond not even truth could destroy. His Edward's eyes flickered with sorrow, and something resembling relief, as if speaking the hidden wound had lifted a burden he carried too long. Alex gripped his hand tighter, his tears falling freely, each drop carrying pieces of forgiveness not yet whole. I hate what you did, but I love who you are to me, Alex confessed. The contradiction tore him apart, yet it was the only truth he had left. The monitor beeped steadily, but each sound felt like a cruel reminder that time was bleeding away. Alex pressed his forehead against his Edward's hand, his body shaking with sobs. "I don't know how to let go," he admitted, words spilling like broken glass across the sterile room. His Edward's chest rose faintly, labored breaths rattling. "You don't need to let go," he whispered weakly. Alex lifted his head, eyes widening at the fragile words. "Carry me with you," his Edward added, voice trembling but certain. The simplicity struck Alex harder than any confession, harder than any secret. He wept openly, his soul unraveling, as the truth sank deep. His Edward's presence would not fade, even in absence. Alex clutched his Edward's hand tighter, his tears dripping onto the sheets, carving rivers of love through grief's terrain. The silence grew heavier, broken only by the sound of Alex's sobs and his Edward's shallow breaths. "You always told me to be brave," Alex whispered, his voice trembling. His Edward's eyes fluttered, barely open, yet enough to meet his son's. "Now I need you to be brave for me," his Edward said, his voice faint but steady. The words pierced Alex's chest, carving both pain and strength into him. His throat tightened, his heart collapsing under the weight of the request. "I don't know if I can," Alex confessed, shaking his head as tears blurred his vision. His Edward's faint smile flickered, fragile yet resolute. "You already are," he whispered, his eyes softening. Alex's body shook, his breath ragged, as he realized this was not just farewell. It was a transfer of strength, a final lesson given in a whisper. Alex's hands trembled as he clutched his Edward's, desperation clawing at him. "I don't want this to be the end," he cried, voice cracking under grief's weight. His Edward's chest rose faintly, his words whisper thin. "Every end is a beginning for someone else," he rasped. Alex's breath stilled, his mind resisting the thought of moving on without him. "Don't leave me with only regrets," he pleaded, his tears falling harder. His Edward's weak grip tightened, a fleeting strength surging through him. "Then live without them," he whispered firmly. The finality struck Alex like a blow, shaking his very soul. His heart felt torn between despair and resolve, as if his Edward had handed him both a burden and a gift. Alex lowered his head, sobbing, clinging as though love could outlast time. The air thickened, the silence unbearable, as Edward and son locked eyes, both knowing this was the brink of goodbye. Alex's lips quivered, his chest breaking. "I love you," he said finally, voice raw, stripped of pride, stripped of fear. His Edward's watery eyes softened, a faint tear sliding down his cheek. "I love you too," he whispered, his final strength poured into the words. The room stilled, the machines humming with cruel detachment, as love filled the space heavier than grief. Alex broke, sobs racking his body, but his heart felt both shattered and whole. For the first time, nothing was left unsaid. He clutched his Edward's hand to his chest, anchoring himself in the final truth they shared. It was both an ending and a redemption, a moment carved into eternity. The room grew quieter, each breath from his Edward more fragile, fading like whispers in the wind. Alex sat still, his tears drying into streaks on his cheeks. His chest felt hollow yet strangely light, as though love had carved a space deeper than grief. His Edward's hand rested limply in his, the warmth beginning to fade. Alex whispered softly, "I'll carry you with me, always." The words weren't a plea anymore, but a vow. His Edward's eyes half closed, the faintest smile curling his lips as though hearing the promise. Alex leaned closer, pressing his forehead gently against his Edward's. The silence stretched but no longer suffocated. It wrapped around him like a fragile blanket. He realized goodbye was not abandonment, but transformation. His Edward would linger, not in body but in the echo of love. Alex sat back slowly, his heart torn between unbearable grief and a fragile peace. His Edward's breaths grew weaker, each one echoing like a farewell. The machines hummed steadily, but their rhythm no longer brought him dread. Alex whispered, "Rest now," his voice trembling yet resolute. His Edward's chest lifted faintly before falling with delicate finality. Tears returned, but they carried less weight, as though softened by acceptance. Alex's fingers lingered over his Edward's frail hand, stroking it gently, committing every detail to memory. The silence no longer felt cruel, but sacred, a curtain closing with dignity. He realized his Edward's greatest lesson was not in strength or sternness, but in vulnerability, in the courage to love, even through flaws. The monitor's steady beeping slowed, each sound cutting into Alex's heart, yet also marking the beauty of presence shared until the end. He leaned closer, whispering, "I'll live the way you wanted me to." His Edward's faint smile lingered before his chest stilled. The moment struck like a storm, crashing through Alex's soul, yet also leaving behind calm waters. He sobbed quietly, forehead pressed against his Edward's hand one last time. "Thank you," he whispered, "not for perfection but for love, for lessons hidden in flaws, for presence that shaped his life." Tears blurred his vision, yet his heart carried something stronger than despair, clarity. This was not just loss but inheritance, the gift of memory and love sealed forever in silence. The silence after his Edward's final breath stretched into eternity. Alex sat frozen, his chest collapsing and expanding with grief he could not control. Yet in that silence came clarity. Love remained unbroken by death. He kissed his Edward's hand softly, lingering as though to transfer every ounce of his soul. His tears fell freely, but they no longer felt like defeat. Instead, they were a release, a baptism into a new chapter of living with loss. "I'll honor you," Alex whispered, voice steady for the first time. He sat back, inhaling deeply, feeling the weight of finality settle but not crush him. His Edward's presence lingered in the quiet, not as absence but as eternal echo. The final moment came not with thunder, but with stillness. Alex rose slowly, his body weak yet his spirit steadier than before. He looked at his Edward one last time, committing every detail to memory. The lines of his face, the softness in his last expression. "I will carry you," he whispered, his words filled with certainty. The room felt different now, still heavy but also sacred, as though it held not just loss but eternal love. Alex lingered at the door, his hand resting on the frame. He looked back, his eyes wet but steady. "Goodbye, Dad," he said softly. His voice didn't shatter this time, it resonated, carrying love stronger than grief. He stepped away, the silence following him, not as emptiness but as a reminder of love that could never die.